agenda. They're not all the same type, in my opinion. And the ones we've encountered up in the Sierras, I don't think is like the one that Patterson filmed. The trackways are different. Their attitudes seem to be just different. I think many different type of aliens have been here. I don't get off on this subject yet, but they have manipulated the genetics of different species on this planet. Some of it may be to acclimate their species to this planet. Don't know for sure about that, but that's my best guess. But there have been all kinds of aliens here doing this stuff for eons and eons, probably before we ever became who we are now. And if these things were manipulated genetically from some troglodyte, that would give them their sapience, that would give them what we have too, what created us? An alien, right? God.
Yeah. Or several aliens over a long period of time.
God is plural. That's hard for people to get to this, because it's been translated from Hebrew years and way a long time before Christ.
Elohim is plural.
Yeah,
Elohim is plural, and El is singular. El.
I have a question for Scott. Do you, in your comparative religions, did you ever run across any comparatives to the Sasquatch people?
Oh, well.
I'm back with you.
If you go back and look at the work of Dmitry Bayanov, he wrote a book. God, what was the name of that book, Ron? That had all of the imagery from the European Middle Ages.
All right.
And
I've
carved into the what?
So I have the book somewhere. If I didn't give it to my daughter,
yeah.
I gave a lot of my books away to my daughter. One of my
no,
daughters.
I have it too. It's just put away. But he gives a couple of dozen, if not several dozen, pictures of etchings and carvings, grotesque, what they call grotesque carvings or gargoyle carvings on cathedrals, and they essentially are carvings of Sasquatch.
Right.
Well, without a doubt. So we know Sasquatch was in Europe. We know Sasquatch was in Asia, may still be there, may still be in Africa. And like Ron believes, there may be several different species of them. They are so widespread. But
have you ever heard of a Christ quoting a Sasquatch story?
Of Christ quoting a Sasquatch story?
Yeah.
No, but in the Quran, there's the story of the Gog and Magog. The Gog and Magog. They were the wild people that had black and red fur, and they had gathered them up and made them live in a gated community. They had gathered, the Gog and Magog. This is in the Quran.
Right. Well, did you ever hear the quote where Christ says, "If you have faith of a mustard seed, you can say to the mountain, come," right, and the mountain will come.
Okay.
Right? Well, if you go over to the Hindus and you look at the Ramayana, the Ramayana is a story of a Sasquatch type creature called Hanuman, and one of his tasks in order to help Lord Ram was to gather some medicinal herbs from this mountain, and he couldn't remember the name of the herb or what the herb was, so he picked up the whole mountain and brought it to Lord Ram. Right? And that's like one of the most famous stories of Hindus, right?
Wow.
So Christ is actually quoting about faith to the story of Lord Ram and Hanuman.
Huh.
If you get in the Old Testament where you got the two sons or sons of Isaac, the two, one hairy and one not.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Well, there you go.
That was pretty compelling too.
Well, yeah, and then you got the lineage there, which goes all the way into the land of Canaan to maybe Ham's wife. I don't know if she had a recessive gene, but also you got from Edomites. You got the Edomites that came out of Edomites, which came out of there, and they're depicted in San Angelo's or Marcangelo's painting with the two giants in the cave, two Bigfoots. It looks like. But that's how they kept, and that's the land of the giants. That's where the Israel. There's a lot of stories in the Older Testament about giants and stuff.
Oh my God! Now, it goes way beyond even our traditions.
But
they're finding so much.
My interest is in the cuneiform text and how does Elam, does that 2,500 times it was mentioned they found so far. Every time it was plural. And when that was the Anunnaki. Were they, Scott, this is good for you. Do you know if the Anunnaki were, because they were supposed to be spirit beings, or shiny ones from the sky, powerful ones, they call them more than often, the powerful ones, and they were actually giants too, compared to, because they created demigods. There you get into Enoch and Gilgamesh and not Enoch, but
Enkidu.
Enkidu, thank you.
Enkidu, yes, Gilgamesh and Enkidu.
It's all from the land of Mesopotamia right up there. And you get into the northern part of Mesopotamia where Sumerians were, and that's where Abraham, the father of the Hebrew nation, would have been culturized, was up in there. And he would have brought some of those stories out of the cuneiform text probably, which had been thousands of years earlier. The cuneiform text was like 3,500 BC, where the Hebrew language didn't really come into a translation until I think 700-800 BC, something like that. So I'm just saying that there's a lot going on that we could look into, and it's so fun. To me, it's just fun to be on programs like this and talk about it, because it's all the way our history. And people want to just live in a bubble here and not really get into what really is going on in this world, has gone on.
An interesting point about this Hanuman business, right, is Hanuman is seen as the deity for faith in God. You go to a Hanuman statue before you go to your temple. You go to a Hanuman statue and ask for faith in God from Hanuman, and then you go to your temple. Now, the way it works out is that Hanuman is universal as he's the example of the most faithful devotee to God, right? That was his shtick. So what happens is, because the people in India, they have many different gods, right? Many different gods. So you might have a Lord Brahman and Vishnu and Shiva. These are all different temples, and you just go to your temple. But each one of those temples will also have a temple or a little statue or a little house where Hanuman is, and you always go in and ask Hanuman for devotion or faith in God. And if you look at it this way, if you look at it that way, there's more temples to Hanuman in India than there is to any other god, because he's connected to all the gods. And then if you take that if that was a religion, if Hanuman was a religion, there's about 700,000 people who are devoted to Hanuman. That would make Hanuman, if it was a religion and not just like a saint, then that would make it the sixth largest religion in the world, bumping down Buddhism. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So Ron and Scott, you guys went together to the camp a few times, had some interesting experiences.
I've been up on the mountain with Ron 10 times.
Okay.
And five times with my son Stephen. And we only had to save Ron's life twice.
I knew that was coming.
Stephen only had to save Ron's life twice. I only had to save his life once. But that we can't even count, because we never made it to the top of the mountain that time. Yeah. So yeah, we've been up there and down several times.
Did you want to talk about some of the experiences where maybe you said there's more to these people than we know, than we might have thought about? Do you want to talk about some of the experiences that made you think
Ron,
twice?
and Ron will remember things differently. of
Yeah,
course.
let's get both of your perspectives.
But one of the first year we were actually able to make it up there, it was me, Ron, and Steven, my son. And we had hiked up. I mean, and it had taken us all long fucking time. And I don't remember. Yeah, you went up on the mules, didn't you, Ron? That first year. So you were
I don't
you
remember.
were waiting for us at the other camp. You were waiting for us at the other camp when me and Stevie showed up finally.
No, I think I would have had to been with you as the first trip, Scott, because
You hiked all the way up with us.
You wouldn't know where that camp was.
Well, let's see. Oh yeah, you're right. I think. Well, wait.
Anyway, I think
there was a lot of times we followed mule tracks in, but you're right. I think that first time we were all hiking. You made it up there we made it all up there by ourselves hiking. And in any case, we were there no longer than probably 2 or 3 minutes. And we were just taking off our backpacks. And we were setting back up again, relaxing and taking a big drink, setting our backs up against a tree. And then suddenly, about 30, 40 yards directly toward the setting sun, we hear this very loud cowbell noise. And it goes clang, clang, clang. And me and Steven and Ron all perked up and said, what the fuck? Me and Steven especially, what the fuck was that? And Ron's going like, well, it sounded like a cowbell. I said, Ron, there's no fucking way there's a cow up here. There's no fucking cows up here. He says, and Ron's going on about, hey, well, we ran into cows up here, a couple times back in whenever, yeah, there was cows up here. I says, Ron, that was not a cowbell. It was hanging off a cowbell. And Steven's like going, no. And probably less than 2 minutes later, and we're still in this argument between me and Ron, we hear the exact same sound directly to the east of our camp. In other words, directly across our camp.
Which was not the Sierra camp, by the way. It was just a different camp.
This is a different camp. Yeah, this is a different camp. And we hear this, the same exact sound directly to the east from the setting sun. And again, remember, we're only in camp like 2 or 3 minutes in the first place. So we hear directly to the east the same sound, clang, 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 very metallic.
Okay, you want to hear my story?
And it sounded exactly like a cowbell. And I'm saying, Ron, there's no fucking way a cow went from 40 yards in that direction all the way around our camp to the direct opposite side of our camp and made the same exact sound without us hearing a cowbell in between. Okay, yes, of course. Yes, of course I'd like to hear your story.
Same story, different version.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, we heard the cowbell, and let me just back up a little bit. That whole area, thousands of acres, are generally given to ranchers for their cows just to run wild on. Then certain time of the year in the fall, they gather them up. And about every third cow, or whatever it is, has the cab up there too, has a cowbell. That's so they can find them if they don't get them. Oh, wait a minute, finish listening to me.
Go on, man, go on.
And so I thought, well, that may be a cow. So, but he's right. Just a few minutes later, we heard the thing on the other side of us there, and we didn't see anything. It was daylight, right? Was it daylight, Scott? It was, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Started going looking for the tracks. There's no tracks, and I mean it's a sandy area too. It's not there's trees, but there's still you could see tracks. There was no tracks that we could find, and we searched the whole area looking for tracks. So the way they think they make sounds, make it mimic things, is very much accepted, I think. And if they could have mimicked a cowbell, which I think they had no trouble at all mimicking that, that may have been what happened. But could another one have been answering over there, or did that one just get over there right quick and make that same sound?
Oh, you're right about that. It could have been two of them.
Yeah.
You're right. It could have been.
We'll never know. But
It
it's
was not a cow.
a good story. It may have been a cow. We just couldn't find the tracks, but I'm just saying that because ranchers do that. They will cowbell every third one just so they can find them in the fall.
And never once in 10 expeditions up there with you have I ever seen a cow.
Well, we've never seen a Bigfoot either. But I got to tell you this,
Yes, I have.
in my 50 some odd years of going up there, I've never seen a cow, but I know that that's what the ranchers do because I know I've talked to the ranchers around there. They gather them up. That's what those stables are all way down, miles away down to the bottom. That's where they gather them up.
The only other explanation is that we have an even bigger mystery on our hands with a gigantic, very athletic cow. With a gigantic cowbell, this is the size of my body, go clang, clang, clang. And by the way, he knows how to play the cowbell. He's listened to enough 70s rock to know how to play the cowbell, this guy.
Let's change the subject to something.
But wait, if a cow's walking, you're not just going to hear clang, 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 clang. You're going to hear it when it's moving along, aren't you?
Yeah, you should have heard it going to the other side.
It's not going to just be one enormous outburst of cowbell and, more cowbell. Remember the Saturday Night
Well, you would have
Live,
heard the cowbell going around us, which we didn't hear. You just heard the cowbell over here, then you heard it over here. And that's a little bit strange. I got to give it to Scott on that one.
I got another news update. You want to hear?
Yeah. What picture was?
No, it's this one of our friends, Coastal Chick. She was on our show. She was a great guest. Had lots of experience. She said 13 minutes ago, she said, our friends are enjoying the show. The Sasquatch in her neighborhood are enjoying the show. I just had a tree break and wood knocking 100 feet away.
Wow.
So this is something that happens a lot on the Pork and Bean Show. Is the people
Really?
who are watching the show are the Sasquatch are tuned into them, and they let them know. Also, I wanted to let you know that Tom Cantrell, you both met him, I think, in 2010 at a conference. I
never heard of him.
Tom Cantrell says hello, and also he helped Brian write his first book.
No, I helped him. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, my first. Oh, the one I did by myself. Yeah. The first one we did, though.
Well, tell Tom, hello, Tom. I know Tom pretty well.
You know Tom, yeah.
He's the only guy. He's one of the only guys older than me that's still doing this stuff.
Well, no, don't forget, you got Arla, Colleen, right?
Oh, yeah, right. I'm gonna have to go to the woodshed if I don't mention.
She's got 70 years of.
Arla's not 70, is she?
She's 73.
Yeah, she's 73. She's about 73.
Well, I'm 80. Let's go there. Okay.
Okay. You look good for 80. I'm 73 also, and I'm starting to lose it.
By the way, Arla wanted me to say hi. She was trying to get on the show today, but she had to go for a medical test. So if I didn't say that, I'd be going to the woodshed for sure.
Tom says you're older than me, Ron. So there you go.
Am I older than Tom?
Yeah.
Huh. How old are you, Tom?
79.
79? Yeah.
You're 79? Oh.
Yes.
I'll be 81.
Says, I'm a young 79. There,
I'll be young.
Just to be clear about that.
Well, I'll be 71 here in June. So I was 29 when this started for me. So.
So, Ron, do you want to talk about some of the more unexplained things that you've experienced? Like, people say woo or whatever with them that you.
Yeah, let me say this about the woo-woo and about the paranormal. Quantum physics is not the woo-woo. It's not the paranormal. All quantum physics does is put the science behind some of the unexplained things in the paranormal, and people reporting in the woo-woo camp.
I agree. So it's just a term, right?
It's just a term, but I am what they might call a citizen scientist. I'm not I don't have the degree, but I've done a lot of studying, a lot of reading now on this subject of quantum physics, because I think it answers a lot of the woo-woo, and we had a lot of woo-woo up there, which we couldn't explain. So Al Berry, being a master's in science like he was, he said, stay with the science. So there had to be a science behind these things. Nothing just happens. I mean, there's a law, I think, that governs everything. And that law, according to, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, is by Christopher Brer at West Texas A&M, works from the micro world all the way throughout the cosmos. So if you, and even Edgar Mitchell said it takes classical and quantum sciences together to have clear perception. Well, that's pretty profound, and I think it's something we should listen to. It takes both. We have to live in our third dimensional frequency. That's where we are. But it doesn't mean the other frequencies we're supposed to ignore, because we're all part of that. We just have it within us to be part of it. But if you reach out and start studying these other frequencies, you realize how many other things could be out there and how many things we're not seeing. It's probably right beside us. And they're all connected, and we're all connected. We just don't realize it. We need to know more about who we are as human beings and our capabilities. We have more than what we're showing. I mean, what gives us our telepathy? What gives us our remote viewing abilities? What gives us the deja vus every once in a while? Deja vus are because time don't exist. I said that earlier. Time as we perceive it don't exist, because everything can. We can know everything if we just know how to hook into it.
I agree with you. I don't like the term woo actually, but it's just a term that people understand.
Right. Yeah. But again, woo and quantum physics are not the same.
Well, I don't know if I told Brian this, but at one time I was a volunteer for the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. And they did this big, wide survey. But the reason how that got started is the guy who lived near me was he was the founder, and he was named Ray Hernandez. And Ray Hernandez was driving down the road in Miami, got taken out of his car and taken up to this other reality. And the ET showed him this big wheel, and it had remote viewing, clairaudience, clairvoyance, dowsing, the mystical experiences, then shamanic journeys, all of the psychic phenomena that we know of, right? And they said, we want you to go and research the connection to all these things, right? And then he put him back in his car, and he's like, what? And while he's driving, so he didn't even miss a beat. So to me, the ETs want us to know, what is the connection between all these things and human beings? What's the connection? Yeah, and because consciousness, it's all connected in consciousness, energy, and frequency, and there's a physics behind it.
Absolutely.
So to me, that's the direction that all of humanity wants to go. When you have, and listen, the first phone call he made was to Mary Rodwell, who's a big researcher in ET, and she sent him to this guy named what's his name? He's an astrophysicist out of Harvard. He's forget his name. And then his mentor was Dr. Edgar Mitchell. So in 24 hours, and basically the next day, they had, Dr. Edgar Mitchell and this guy, Dr. Rudy Shields, who is the leading exponent on black holes in the world now. So, and then they got 11 more PhDs all to get in, and all the PhDs that joined the foundation all had contact experiences. So to me, this, and then so that you take that and you stick it next to the Sasquatch people who are showing us all these things, all the telepathy and going invisible or changing your life by giving you little pokes or energies and exchanges and stuff like that. This is teachings, like teaching us. So to me, that's the core of where humanity is supposed to be heading. Is to, and I think it was even who's that guy Nikola Tesla says that when you start to study what's invisible and in terms of energy and frequency, you're going to learn more in the first year than you will have learned in the last 100 years. So I think we're on the right track in the right direction for the right reasons. That's what I think.
I agree with you. He said, yeah, it takes energy, frequency. Once you understand energy, frequency, and vibration, those three things, you'll understand the secrets of the universe.
Right.
And you'll make more progress in 1 decade than you will in all the history of man.
And Penny Kelly says consciousness is the feeling of energy, because basically everything that comes to us as energy, and consciousness is the feeling of energy. So if you're studying these energies, that's gonna you have to engage your consciousness, and consciousness influences energy and mass.
Mhm.
You know,
That's
Ron, I
what
like
quantum physics is how consciousness influences energy and mass.
Well, our consciousness doesn't die. It's just our bodies that die. You know, it's the physical being. Our brain controls the body. The consciousness is really, I think, inside your system through your fascia, through your pineal gland mainly, and goes on and on. But that's what doesn't die according to physics. It just continues on and it changes form. So that's kind of interesting to me, because as we get older, you want to know more about that stuff. You know?
Yeah. Where does Scott go?
I don't know.
Huh. Anyway, I like what you said, Ron, about, I know we've talked about this before, I think on the last time you came on, but I like what you said about how we're all, you know, all connected and all, you know, part of a universal mind kind of thing or whatever, because that's actually one of the cores of my Sasquatch teachings, is that they're trying to teach us that, you know, because there's you know, in connection, there's great power and whatever, but in division, there's, you know.
Yeah, like I said earlier too, there's only one consciousness and we're all part of it. And
Absolutely.
everything you want to access is within you. And
yeah,
that's kind of neat.
and like I said, the Sasquatch are teaching us that too. Which
yeah, I think
you
they
know,
want to, but they're not supposed to interfere with our karma. You know, we've all got challenges ahead of us, experiences to experience, and I don't think they're not really supposed to change what we're doing. They can only do it through telepathy or something like that, or unless they talk to you, like happened to me, Scott. So anyway,
yeah, I don't think I agree with you.
I agree with what you just said.
But they haven't with my experiences, they haven't done anything to change my, you know, because we're all on a karmic, not a karmic, on a soul journey into, you know, free will and all that, and they can't interfere with it, but they can nudge us, they can give us information, but they, you know, as
but
far
it's still
as
going to be your choice. It's going to be your choice.
yeah, of course, they don't, you know, they don't try to
They
affect your free
throw a
will.
rock at you, and either you're going to say, "Oh, they're going to kill me," or you say, "They're saying hello." So there's
Or
your
you throw a
choice.
rock back.
Yeah, there you go. And Brian did a whole thing where he threw a rock at a tree to make noise with his buddy, little Bud, and they did it for like 15 minutes. So who could make the loudest thing. So they had a rock throwing contest.
Anyway, it's all going towards consciousness. I think when we start what's scary is a little bit scary is the AI that's out right now. What's happening in that field? If they can, well, you guys know what AI is, right?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. It's really going to put a cap on a lot of things. But if they can get artificial intelligence to get consciousness, which that's what they're thinking can happen. If that can happen, which according to the EBS, so, you know, the fifth dimensional ETs that are supposedly out there helping us, they have got their bodies. Some of their bodies is an artificial intelligence, but their consciousness has been transferred in there, so they can react to people, but they got an indispensable body, really. Not all of them, but just certain. There's so many billions and billions of life forms going on in this universe, and our government knows about them, but they're not going to tell us any more than they think we can handle. I think we got to just keep pounding in at consciousness and realize just who we are as humans, and realize that the more good we can do with our energy frequency and our vibration, the more good we can do for others, it's going to give our vibrational frequency a higher status. And we got to stop killing, we got to stop hurting, we got to do what's right by other people, start showing love and compassion. When you do that, you're going to accelerate yourself too. And that just makes everything better, because we're all heading for a higher dimension. Just
Absolutely.
Coastal Chick is got a message for you, Ron.
Uh-oh.
She said, "Wow!" Right after Ron said about us being all part of consciousness, all one, I heard a bunch of big thumps. So here it is live. That was
Wow.
1 minute ago. Live, they're reacting to you live through Pork and Beans and through the Coastal Chick. This happens to us all the time. So you
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
take it as you will.
Oh, I agree.
I often, almost every show, I get some kind of energetic nudge from them when I'm talking truth about them or somebody's making a good point. They will let me know, like with a real, like a full body rush energy or whatever that, you know, and that's the same kind of thing as Coastal Chick was just saying. Isn't it nice though, now that we're starting to actually talk about the Sasquatch in a positive light and how, you know, and who they truly are, and that they may be, and not maybe, that they are, although some people aren't of that understanding, that they are here to help us raise our consciousness and our vibration, and they're teachers. That's
I'm not sure they're all the
that's
same though. I gotta
no,
tell you.
I wouldn't say that, but the ones
Some
that I,
some could have a malicious intent to them, like the ones when I went up to Port Lock, Alaska on that Discovery Channel thing. I was on episode 5 and 6 or 4 and 5, something like that. But they took me in this Port Lock, Alaska, which, have you guys heard about that story?
nope.
It was on an 8-part series with Discovery Channel. It's free now. Alaska Killer Bigfoot, it's called. Anyway, these people do have something going on up there, or they did have. But what was happening in 1940s, they abandoned their village because of these Bigfoot-like creature was tearing them apart and killing them. And it wasn't a bear; it was mangling them, tearing their arms off, throwing them around. Bear wouldn't do that. Plus, they've seen it, I guess, a few times. And these people want to know if they could rehabilitate the village, because way out in the middle of nowhere, but there was a good fishing and good everything there, and they wanted to rehabilitate it and start up the lodge again. Well, they wanted my advice. Is it safe? Yeah, what am I supposed to say there? Is it safe? No, if it comes in and tears your arm off, it's not safe. But I flew over in a helicopter, and I analyzed the whole area pretty well. And I seen where years and years ago, probably in the 40s, it had been timbered very heavily, and that it was new growth was back up. But a few trees was way up there still, and they obviously, from the pictures I saw, they had overfished it. There was fishing like you wouldn't believe, just more than they could handle almost. And they were also mining the area. And I told them, I said, no, they could have just been encroaching too much in these things and getting in their territory too much, because if they timbered that area way back in there. And I said, if something 10, 15 feet tall would have come out of the bushes and screamed at you, you'd probably shot at it. And that's what I think they may have done, and that would have pissed it off, so to speak. Pissed me off. Somebody shot me. I wouldn't like that at all. But anyway, I'm sure from what I've seen, what we went through up there, they have still some Bigfoots around there, but they are malicious, or they were in the 40s, but they may not be. I said, just come back without the filming crew, without anybody else, and just try to stay here for about 3 or 4 of you at the most, and see what happens. And they're afraid. I think, well, I don't know what they are, but I don't think they want to do that, because they were afraid up there when something would happen. They had one of the guys on set there that just had a high-powered rifle, and he was there to protect us. That these things came out and came after us, which something was up there in the tree line that night when we blasted my sounds, and we don't know, because I think that thing knew if it came out, it probably got shot at.
Yeah. Well, I can only
So I'm
speak
just
from
saying
what-
all that because I think there are some malicious ones, but I think most of them don't want that. They want us to take care of this planet, and we haven't been doing that. We're blowing it up with bombs. We're killing each other. All
Yeah.
this stuff's going on, and we got to stop doing that if we ever want to accelerate this planet, get it out of the third dimension.
Yeah, well, the ones I mean, I can only speak from personal experience, and I'm just talking about the ones that I connect with and I'm associated with.
Oh, me
They're
too.
they're more human in the sense of, the humanity of it. Like, we
Sure.
put ourselves on a lofty pedestal, like, like humanity, like we're kind and like, and all these things. The ones that I associate with have more of those attributes of, of that than we do.
Oh, I think we were associated with some good ones up there too, or we'd have been eaten by now or something, because they could have got us anytime they wanted us. Right, Scott? We were vulnerable.
Yes.
And I just think that, you know,
I felt very vulnerable. Yes.
Well,
I
because
have-
of Ron or because of the Sasquatch?
No, there's many times I felt vulnerable up there. And since.
well, we went to, remember that time I was trying to hike to a spot where I think were able to see over a lot of area. Scott and I was walking up to this big mountain. We was going to go around the mountain to where this valley was. It was kind of a
Mhm.
valley at 10,000 feet high, but I think that's where they could sit and see anybody coming up the trail. They could see where we're going. They could see somebody going the other way. I thought we was going to go there. We got up there and it had been a clear day until all of a sudden these clouds came over us. I mean, it was a storm. It just,
Oh, you're talking about the time you and me got
yeah,
caught.
we had to get under a tree for a while. We couldn't go, and it took too much time. We was not going to get to there
The
until
freak
it
was
got
a freak
dark.
storm in the middle of a beautiful sunshine day.
Plus, your batteries were dead, right? Didn't at the time
all
one of
our
your
batteries were dead.
yeah. So I think they got energy going on with them. They need energy for certain things, but I'm wondering what was going on because I've interviewed a guy since then, Scott, just a couple 3 years ago that
Really?
saw a UFO up there and watched it for 30 minutes, not at that mountain, but at another place 10, 15 miles away where he hunts. He
Okay.
also had an encounter with a Bigfoot at the same time. So I'm saying
Huh.
that they're around up there, but UFOs have also been acquainted with them. According to Huffington Post in 2012, there's an article came out that in 1888, Eureka Times had this incident where they printed that this rancher, along with some Native Americans, seen this small moon come down and 3 crazy bears jumped out of it. That's one of the first written reports of Bigfoot coming out of a UFO.
Really? 3 crazy bears?
3 crazy bears jumped out of this little moon.
Oh my God.
And that's in the Huffington Post 2012. I dug it out, or somebody did. Anyway, it's from 1888.
Do either of you guys feel like, because I mean, it's my experience, like I can feel them actually right now. And they can connect with me anywhere. Do you guys feel like they're keeping tabs on you or that they're connected with you in some ways when you're like even sitting at home or whatever?
I do
There
for sure.
were things that happened at my house in clear in Lone Jack, Missouri, that tells me that they somehow knew where I lived.
Let's hear that. And then I want to hear what Ron has to say about that too.
That's where the jackalopes were. That's where the jackalopes were, right?
Do you want to talk about that, Scott? What happened?
Well, we actually had some, God, I wish Stephen and all of his buddies were here right now because they could tell you better than me. We lived out in the woods, right on a little creek corridor. And we had what we called like a gifting rock. And we would leave like leftover food out there all the time. I didn't care who was getting it, whether it was the foxes or the coyotes or what, right? But we started getting stuff left there. Stuff like small round stones that would fit right in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Very small round stones, all of a different color. All different colors. Every day was a different color. Would be left right on top of that stone.
So did you get the impression that
I'm not saying the ones in in the Sierra camp chased me clear to Missouri. I think they have some other way of connecting.
Energy.
Well, telepathically, they connect with each other.
Well, let me tell you something. Yeah.
But Scott, let me ask Scott this about the stones. Did you feel that they were gifting you those stones in exchange for the gifts you were giving them?
I think so. I did. That's what I thought at the time.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I would concur. I would think so too. How about you, Ron? How do you feel them? Or whatever.
Well,
I mean,
their energy can follow you anywhere. They can do
right.
what they want to do. One
Yeah,
time when we was up
that's
at camp,
common.
I write about this in my book. We had this ticking noise going on out by our stove, a clicking, sound like castanets, and it kept getting closer to the shelter, which we was all in with the door closed. A door just a log between 2 wedged trees, and all of a sudden that clicking noise was inside the shelter. So there's three of us there, Lewis Johnson, Bill McDowell, and myself. And we're all shining our lights, seeing what it was, and nothing there, and the clicking stopped just immediately as soon as your light came on. Turn the light off and it started up again. Same back and forth. First thing, it just we don't know what it was, but that clicking noise was definitely a sound that we was all listening to. Later, down in my home and my ranch down in California, I was out irrigating. I had 64 acres down there, and I was irrigating the back, and I heard the same clicking noise. And I was by myself. I thought, I'm looking around, trying to see what's the source of that. Couldn't find a source. I start up again, the clicking noise starts again. I look on myself, could that be something I'm doing, No, nothing I'm doing. That was going on. That actually happened. Talked to Bill McDowell. He said, that clicking noise we had? I said, Bill, have you ever had anything happen down here? That's besides the beating on the doors and windows and different things like that happened to us, but this was actually out in the field. He said, yeah, I was out in my field here after we came down after that clicking sound. I had the same thing happen to me out in the field. And that's, so they were doing it to both of us. And that's interesting, I think, because some people say, well, what, they follow you down? I don't think they have to follow you. They can just be where they want to be because,
Yeah.
it's just that way with them. So yeah, do they do that stuff? I think they do it to me today. I've had something, I think, watching over me. We all have. There's these entities that care about us doing what we're doing right now.
But you feel them energetically, though? You feel them energetically?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah. Yeah.
Ron, do you know Kenneth Collins?
Yes, yes. He gave me shirt off his back one time.
He did what?
He gave me a shirt off his back one time at one of these meetings. He had a really cool looking Western shirt on. And I said, man, that's a good looking shirt on you. He disappears, and a few hours later, he comes back when I had it clean, brought it back and gave it to me.
Well, isn't that nice?
He's in the chat. He says to say hello and
hello,
say
Ken.
to both of you. Evidently, he knows both of you. He also says, ask for you to tell a story about the upside down horse, whatever that is.
Oh, that's Scott witnessed that. Yeah, that's a night day when we couldn't get up to the camp. Scott and I was riding horses, and all of a sudden his horse wouldn't go any further, and mine had already given me a problem down below. I sprung one of my wrists, and one of my reins on one side was broken, and I had this new horse that they swore it was trail ready when I bought it. I bought it just a few weeks before Scott was coming out to go up on the mountain. So I packed one horse. I rode this new horse because he said it was trail ready, because you got to have a trail ready horse in that area or you're going to get in trouble. Well, Mo, the little one horse I put him on, was ready. She's a good horse, but she wouldn't go any further. And I said, Scott, you got to keep moving or this horse is going to get rammed. He's going to get crazy because that pack horse I got is going to turn around and she won't come up any further. And sure enough, my pack horse turned around and started trotting back down through those boulders. And my horse just, I'm going too. He didn't want to have anything to do with whatever was happening up there. So before we dumped the whole load down in the trees and the switchbacks down there, and I was packing it up, trying to do the best I could, retie it all so I could get to camp. Anyway, some of that stuff was still down there, some of our food, mainly the cantaloupes we was taking up. But getting back to the trouble I had with the horse, he takes off, and I thought, oh, he's going to dump me. And I don't want to go down through that rock. I mean, there's some boulders up there that it's just like this, and they slip or something like that, you're going to get hurt. So I just took it up. I'm going off. Fell off into the bushes there just so I wouldn't get caught up in those rocks with that horse. And I said, well, the horse can't get away with this. I got to not let them do that. So I started humping down. I said, Scott, bring Mo back. He started coming back. On his way back, though, I'd already got down there to where the horse was. And I was going to try to mount it again down below these rock boulders. And I say below, there was still boulders along the trail, but they weren't like this mess of boulders. We're talking about 100-ton boulders. And I just started to mount it, just going to swing my leg over him, and he bolts. And I only got one rein on this side, no reins over here, plus a sprung wrist over here. And he's just bolting. He's starting to, anyway. Scott says he threw me about 15 feet high. I never knew it, but I just went up, went down, landed right between these two big boulders. And Scott caught up to me, and I couldn't move. I had a couple broken ribs, cracked ribs at least, and I breath was all knocked out of me, and he thought I was dead, I guess. And he says, "I'm gonna go get some help." I said, "No, don't leave me. Be bear bait. Take off right now." We're way up there in the trail, and you can't just leave somebody there overnight because he's not going to get down there and get all the way to have some help, drive somewhere in my truck, which has a trailer on it, big trailer, and come back with a helicopter or something to get me out of there. Anyway, I got up. I said, "Don't leave me here." And I started working myself back down because I was hurting pretty bad. Finally got down at the bottom, and then I made a long story out of this, didn't I? He drove my truck with the trailer, got the horses loaded, and drove around to where my daughter had been camped, and my granddaughter. And this is where she saw one that morning. Next morning, one of the horses, the pack horse, had gotten loose. Had it to be opposable thumb to take that rope off of her like that. And the black horse, Mo was over there where I picketed him between these two trees with all four of her legs sticking up. I thought, "Oh man, Mo's dead." I get up, this is early in the morning. I went over there thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen?" Of course, we didn't need her anymore. We was going to drive out as soon as I could drive because I didn't trust stock driving my truck like that. With this big old trailer on it. And I couldn't shift anyway with my hand because it just, anyway, we had to lay up there a couple of days, and that's when we started having things happening. Whatever was up on that trail, if there was something up there, stopped the horses, was messing around with us all the way up there. We could not get into camp. We weren't even halfway there. And it was 5 o'clock in the evening. I said, "Scott, we may as well go back." Because I think Scott said, "We may as well go back too." Because it wasn't working out, and I was in trouble. So anyway, that's the story there in a quick nutshell. But that's when my daughter saw the trackway. We found it, and that's when my daughter claimed she saw a wolf. And anyway, my granddaughter. But
So how did the horse get on its back between two? Was it like sort of
we're gonna have to ask Bigfoot about that. I don't know. None of us know. I've never seen a horse do that without it being dead. I have, animals will swell up, their leg will go up like this, all of them. And anyway, I've never seen a horse like that before or since, and I've been around horses most of my life. So it was interesting. But I had
we have a question. We have a question from Barry Littleton. He was a guest on the show a while back. He said, "Good show. Could you please have Ron talk about Sasquatch and trees? Very important."
Oh, well, I hit on that a little bit before when I talked about Portlock and the trees, I've had more reports, more interviews with people that said they were cutting trees, doing something with trees. These things have a thing about us cutting the trees. They don't like it. And just every report I've had that's been visual, they said, "Well, I just buck on this log, or I just cut." Or Peter Byrne even had a report here recently, early, about all these loggers out clear cutting, and they saw this Bigfoot coming at them. And that made them all believers because they were all skeptics prior to that. But I've heard a lot of reports about Bigfoot being around when they're cutting trees. And I think that they have a thing about us cutting the trees. And there's also, you got the native lore, which says they live in two worlds and they live in trees. Now, if they can transfer their matter into energy, they may go into a tree. And so those knocks you hear, and I know they do knock on trees. I got that recorded rhythmically. But maybe the big pop I heard in 2011 when I was up there was not a tree knock at all, like I thought it was at the time. It sounded like a gunshot going off right in my ear. That's how loud it was. It could have been the energy coming out. I don't know. That's all woo-woo speculation. But if they can change their matter into energy, that would support that a little bit if they can go in. And you also got the missing form of One the Hunted, that show I was on with David Pilates. He recreated this tube of light that we saw going by our tent in 2016. And it was just really well done the way he did it, the way his videographer did it, because I pointed how it went and about the speed it went. And that's just how that light went by. It was just an energy of some type because it was definitely controlled, and we watched it for several seconds. But if they can do some things that we just don't know about. But I think it gets into the laws of quantum physics because there is a law behind it. That that is existing. And I
Yeah.
think it's the law of the Planck law, quantum physics.
Yeah. Let me say, we'll add one more thing on trees. I guess it was just earlier. It was actually late last year, and it was kind of dusk, where it's kind of like you can't see real well, but you can see, but it's kind of like in between night and day. So I'm in one of my areas, and I look over, and in between two trees, I see a stump. And initially I thought, oh, is that a Sasquatch? And I wasn't sure, right? And it looked like it was an actual stump, but it looked like there was a head bobbing up and down behind the stump or as part of the stump, right? And but for some reason I kind of ignored it. I said, whatever, like probably just not seeing things right. And so then I turned away. My attention was taken somewhere else. I looked back, the stump was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And there was absolutely no way, I mean, I could see it directly. And, I knew exactly where I was looking, and the stump disappeared. So
How
what does
high
that
was
tell
the
you?
stump? How high was the stump?
6-7 feet, maybe.
Right.
But there was a conical head, it looked like, bobbing up and down from behind the stump, or as on top of the stump, if it was part of the
It's probably
stump. or
behind
whatever.
the stump, I would guess, because a dead tree would have no use other than just get behind it.
No, but the tree was gone too. The stump was gone.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
The stump completely, not only, no, not the, I didn't see the head disappear. The whole stump disappeared.
Okay, I had a report like that, Brian, and years ago in a huge meadow. This woman who was tree hunting, she got up before dark, I mean before daybreak, was sitting up there, and she was scouting over this meadow from this edge tree line, and she seen it had been burned years before, but there's still some stumps left. And she was watching, all of a sudden one of these stumps that she was looking at got up, walked off. It was a Bigfoot, she said. So that's another camouflage. I had another report like that in Washington where people said they drove by this big stump that was right there by the road. And they said, well, that shouldn't be there. It's too close to the road.
Yeah.
They went back and the stump was gone.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a
That's
few of them too.
That's
I've
a
heard a
good
few of those too.
camouflage thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was so good camouflage that I thought, is that a Sasquatch? And then I said, whatever. But
Yeah.
then it was gone. And
Yeah.
there's no other
I
explanation.
just wonder
for
how
it.
many times we've all done that, walked by something thinking it was just nothing.
Oh yeah,
Some of these
absolutely,
things
for
could
sure.
be masters at camouflage and just how they stay away from us so much.
Absolutely.
Ron, do you know a lady named Penny Rummel? She knows you. But if you get a chance to come back to the Pork and Bean show after, you should look up Penny Rummel and talk to her about UFOs and Sasquatch, because Penny Rummel's, and there's just two women that we've interviewed who say that they've been a genetic donor to Sasquatch children,
Hmm.
which is really phenomenal. And she's got drawings about it and everything. So
I've heard that so many times. There's a hybridization program going on, and
for the Sasquatch with the
Yeah.
humans.
yeah, well, they want their species, not necessarily the Sasquatch.
Well,
but
from
the-
what I see of Scott from his
Eugenic.
picture, is his clean cut picture, and what I see now, I think he might be in that program.
He's retired. Yeah, that crossbreeding. is
Sorry,
a big
Scott.
deal, but they would have 23 pairs of chromosomes if that's the case,
Yeah.
not 24 like.
Well,
we
there
do.
was it was the female, they contributed the female side.
Sure.
So I thought that to me, that's like astounding, because that just literally marries the Sasquatch and the star people together. I mean, already on that Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation, the Free Foundation, they are saying that the large hairy and small hairy humanoid type beings are the 6 most seen entities that are on craft from the thousands of people who've been on craft and remember. They're the 6 most seen. So this, the light beings and the humanoid looking light beings, and then humans, and then some other ones are grays, and And then sixth one is basically a Sasquatch type human is seen on craft. So there's a connection there.
Have you looked into the Anunnaki?
Well, the Anunnaki, to me, they were just basically space pirates. That's to me, that's what they were. They saw
but they
this,
were also,
they saw this planet down here, and I thought, let's go down there and set up shop. That's basically what it was.
You notice about the King's List, how long those guys lived?
Yeah, they were living 700, 800
Well, they were
years.
known they were gods, and they were creating demigods, and that's where a lot of them came from. That's pretty much in the cuneiform text.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying because it's really interesting how this all began.
And they had advanced genetic technology. You know,
Oh
they
yeah,
had that stuff dialed in pretty good.
well, they still do. Yeah.
They still do, and supposedly they're still around. It's just not really past tense. They just
Oh
have
yeah,
different.
I think so. 'Cause
Yeah.
they don't die, and if they of course, unless Nirubu, is that the name of that planet, is supposed to come back around every so many thousands of years.
Nebrew or something? Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
I just think they're pirates. You know, they just kind of came here to loot and sack. They sack.
I don't think they're all the same, Frank. I think all the Anunnaki are not the same. Some of them were, well, I got a question for maybe Scott. Well, no, Scott's not religious. Of course, I'm not either, but would the Anunnaki be the fallen ones from the biblical days?
Well,
But
some
that's the
people say
stories.
that. Some people
Almost.
say that.
Yeah.
You
Go ahead,
asking me?
Scott.
If so, all the Anunnakis aren't bad. And they are definitely nine-dimensional beings, I think.
Yeah, anyone could be the fallen ones.
I fell a couple times.
Or lost a war or anything, could have been the fallen ones.
Mhm. Yeah, they came from the stars. They're
Yes.
called the powerful ones that were doing things to the human. They passed on all the technology that we started off with, kicked us into gear. So that's got me wondering, just looking into that more, you know.
I'm kind of fond of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, because those guys with this death and destruction and famine and disease, right? Those guys are actually archangels. They weren't fallen. They were archangels fighting on our side. So that's interesting little connection. That they're
I thought that was
not all high superior beings are like love and light and daisies and unicorns. Some of them can lay your soul to waste.
I thought that was John Green, Peter Byrne, and
Randy Del Hinden.
yeah, DeHinden. DeHinden and Krantz, Grover Krantz. Yeah.
Poor old Randy Del Hinden. He was a disillusioned guy, man. He spent
And
his whole life.
Yeah.
He spent
Mr.
his whole life
Moneymaker.
looking for Sasquatch. I don't even think he found a track on his own, or he never found out anything about them. And the reason I think that was is because, as you know, Ron, I mean,
Well, he didn't believe
Sasquatch. Well,
anything
yeah,
other
but
than just,
they want to connect with people with a good heart and people that they can reach out to and teach or work with. I mean, they wouldn't be interested in a guy like that. Sorry, but that's just the way it is.
he was pretty belligerent, pretty obnoxious, I should say. I don't like
So
to talk about the
they
dead,
avoided
but,
him like the plague. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I met him a few times. And getting up in front of us we did another 1998, I think it was, a 20-year reunion of that Sasquatch phenomenon up in Canada at the UBC.
Yeah.
It was the 20th anniversary that I went to. I went to the 1978 anniversary when Dr. Curlin gave his speech there, and all the other people. But anyway, I went to the 1998 one, and Renee was there, and I heard him saying when out in the lobby if those guys talk about us, those guys that had those horses would have been going crazy up there if they'd have had an encounter like that. How the hell would he know something like that? He don't know that because they didn't go crazy. Number one, I went over and approached him. I said, no, they didn't go crazy. But he didn't know what to say because he didn't know who I was for a minute there. Not that would have mattered, but it did matter once he knew who I was.
Ron,
Anyway,
have you ever experienced what I've experienced? Like you think something and then the answer is right there and you relate it to maybe Sasquatch or whatever, you know what I mean? Or that you were talking about something and then they showed you that they were privy to the conversation or your thoughts and showed you something.
That happens to a lot of people, I think, not just us. It's
give
our
you
consciousness being open to things.
Yeah.
And the higher your frequency is, the more you care about other things and how things are going, the better you're going to get at that stuff. Because
that's a big part of my relationship with them. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, we have the ability for telepathy, for all that stuff. We have all those within us. All we have to do is groom ourselves better and we'll accept a lot more of it.
Let me give you a cute little story. This is just a small little example. So I had a guy at my camp one time, or I host a Sasquatch gathering. You should come if you want. It's all free. Just come. That's great. Well, we just hang out and we just commune with Sasquatch and they do stuff and it's really neat. And you too, Scott, if you want to come up.
Okay. Where?
It's in September in British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Right in my clan's home. You can come to British Columbia, right?
No, Canada won't let me in. I'm on a list.
Oh, geez. Well, we'll dig a tunnel. We'll dig a tunnel. Okay.
Europe, so I can't get up there or anywhere in Europe.
Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe Ron can make it.
How'd you get on a list like that?
I'll tell you how, because I was on that list one time.
Really?
They hold you out for 10 years if you ever got caught for drinking and driving.
What?
Yeah, if you got it on your record. I had a wet and reckless in California, and
or if you ever sent guns to the Irish.
Yeah, or the Taliban or something.
That'll do it.
I went up there on a mission with Scott, Todd Neese, and while I was in that, I didn't realize this, and I thought it was 5 years. Now it's 10 years, and I went up there into an expedition that was going on up in the upper Gallagher Islands up north in the area up there with Tom Seawig, and on a boat. We stayed on a boat for 6 days, but making a long story short, they wouldn't let me through unless I gave them $200. All you gotta do is give them $200 and then they'll let you through. Just saying, Scott, unless you did sell arms to the Irish or somebody. No, I found out then it's 10 years and nothing, the thing is I probably, it was ridiculous, I thought, because I wasn't drunk at all. Anyway, they thought I was.
So let me just relate the story. And this is one of just the more practical examples. It's not like the real bizarre kind of ones or whatever. But so we're talking about dandelion tea, right? And the medicinal properties of dandelion tea, me and this fellow. And so shortly after that, I'm walking with him, like right after that, I'm walking with him along an isolated trail. Not too many people frequent at all. And right at the base of a tree is a little bouquet of dandelions tied together. So they obviously, and this isn't just like one example so that I think it was a coincidence. I mean, this happens all the time, but it just speaks to the fact that they can read your mind, or they listen to what you're saying, and then they give you the evidence in things like that. It was a little bouquet of dandelions placed with deliberate purpose right where we would see it, because we were talking about that subject. So they're pretty amazing.
Pretty romantic, really.
Pretty romantic. I knew you would go there, Ron. So Scott, tell us about some of your other experiences in camp or whatever, or out of camp, or
boy.
You saw one, didn't you, Scott, one time?
Oh, Ron, I don't like to talk about that. I did, but it was only after about a couple of years after even being involved. And I was with a girlfriend who was a complete skeptic at the time. And Well, the reason I don't even like to talk about it, even to this day, is because I know too many guys who've been involved in the study for 40, 50 years and never even had a hint of one. And for me to come out after like a couple of years of, me and Ron getting together and doing, presentations and stuff, then suddenly there I would actually see one. Well, that would be preposterous to a lot of people. So I never talked about that for a long time. Only till recently would I talk about it. Ron, of course, knew from the beginning, and a couple other local guys. But yeah, I saw one very near here in near Lee Summit, Missouri. Run across the road. I stopped right, probably about 100 yards in front of us. I stopped the truck, the little truck I was in, and I looked over at my girlfriend at the time, Mandy, who Ron knows. And I stopped the truck and I looked at her. I goes, did you see that? And she said, that deer had the biggest butt I've ever seen on any animal. I said, Mandy, that was not a deer. That was not a fucking deer. That was a Sasquatch ran across the road on all fours, right? Weirdly, I mean, the whole purpose for me taking her down there is I had some experiences at this place, and she was a total skeptic. So this was broad daylight. This was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the archery hunters were just breaking up all of their camps through this conservation area. So there was a lot of archery hunters still out. So I think this one did not even notice me being there, ran across the road because it was focusing on some archery hunters that were down the road from us. And it just didn't even see us. So yes, I've seen one time for a span of about 2.5 seconds. And it ran across the road so fast, no way would you have a chance to pull out a camera or anything, ever.
There's also the possibility of wanting you to see it. I mean,
yeah, they knew you were going to be on the Pork and Bean show, and then wanted to give you stories. So that's obvious,
Right.
Yeah,
no, I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of cases when
I've actually said that I don't believe that you ever see one unless they want you to see it.
yeah,
But in this case, it ran across the road. Head was focused away from us, directly toward just a couple of trucks that were down the road with some archery hunters down there. So I think this time it actually was a mistake. It did not mean to be seen by me.
and you were in a car, truck,
I was in a truck, a small pickup truck.
and the Sasquatch didn't see you coming.
Didn't see it. Ran across the road in front of us, about 75 to 100 yards right in front of us, right from one side of the road to the other, from deepest woods into deepest woods, and it was gone. No sign, whatever.
yeah. Well, but on that part of that they wanted you to see them or whatever, and I'm not speaking specifically to your example. It may have been a coincidence. But some of these guys who you thought you might hurt their feelings or whatever, well, their intentions are probably not that good, towards the Sasquatch. They may be hunting them, or they may just be wanting to prove them for greed reasons or whatever. And so they're not going to show themselves to those individuals. You probably are somebody that they can trust to a certain degree, and you have a good heart, and even though you're talking about them, the language or whatever, the scientific aspect, I'm sure that you have a respect for them as well. So, maybe you're just a little different in that regard. And oh, he's not that, Ron?
Obviously they don't.
I don't know.
Obviously they don't know me as well as Ron does then.
Listen, I'll see you the 1st of April. We're doing a conference together in Hamlet, North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, are you?
We don't do those very often together. I do them regularly, but not with Scott. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, well, I can see that you guys have a lot of fun together. Did you want to
Oh,
put a plug in for that?
we've had a lot of fun. Pardon me?
Oh,
Did you
too
want to
much.
put a plug in for it? Do you want to give us dates and everything and where people
April
can see that? Or
1st, April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day? How perfect, yeah.
Only a couple weeks away. I don't know when this is going to show. You're going to edit this and put it on the YouTube. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, you know
It'll be
what?
up in under 2 days. Yeah.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get you guys to send me in Facebook Messenger, you know, where we talk on Facebook, send me all your links to whatever you want shared. You can send me links to your books, Ron. And Scott, send me links to how people can
Really,
contact you and
if you had my
whatever.
last name on your screen there, that's my link, ronmorehead.com. So that's how you get on my site, so you can get everything.
That's all you have, just ronmorehead.com?
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's how you would get a hold of me too.
ronmorehead.com?
Ron Morehead, what you guys sharing rent on the website?
1-0 in that name.
So
my
that's
Facebook-
it. Because a lot of people have like their own Facebook pages and their own YouTube
Well, I have my
channels and their
Facebook
own,
page too, or Ronald J. Morehead.
well, whatever
Why
you
not?
want to share, where people can get a hold of you.
Oh, that's the best way. People get a hold of me just about every day through my website or through
Well,
Facebook every day. Yeah.
We really enjoyed having you on. Maybe we should think about wrapping her up pretty
Yeah,
soon.
I'm ready.
But I just wanted to ask each of you before we go. So how is, and you've been at it so long, Ron, that's kind of a hard question, but how is your relationship with this phenomenon change your life and your perspective on things? I know it's a huge, big question.
It is. It's graduated from 50 some odd years ago when I started from. I was 29 when this started, and I just started trying to learn where giants came from, where all this, and it just led me into what we've talked about tonight, today, quantum physics, and I've been all over the world, as you know, into Peru, Bolivia, Nepal, Russia, Siberia, and I've talked to people that's had encounters, and I put a lot together. I think, and this is my own mind. And it's taken me from just a flesh and blood, nothing out there. Nothing's just flesh and blood, by the way. Nothing can be just flesh and blood. Everything has something else to it. And we have more to us. Bigfoot has more to them. And I'm just encouraging people to get into how things really work throughout the universe. And that's through quantum science. It's not through just our third dimensional environment that we have to put up with every day. And learn how to respond to all your issues and all your experiences through love and compassion. And when you do that, you're going to be a step above and be right in line with where we're supposed to go. Because we're all going somewhere. We're not going to be here forever. Everybody's going somewhere, and you just want to get your frequency as high as it can, because if you don't, you're going to have to repeat it. I do believe in multiple embodiments over time.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely.
that happens, you're going to have to come back and respond to issues again if you haven't responded to them properly this time. And that's how I feel. Of course, that's idealistic, and it's not religion, but it's spirituality.
So let me ask you, because this is my experience, and it's just like right in my face all the time, obvious that this is how it works. Do you feel that you are being guided in some way to meet people, to be introduced to ideas? Is somebody guiding you along your path? Like you'll look at something and there's an answer there, like, and guiding you along your discoveries?
Yeah, I think anybody that's trying to improve, which I am, you're guided. There's things that come to you that you just follow that way. If you learn to follow your heart, which has a brain, it's going to get the right vibration. That just needs to be coherent with your brain up here, because if it's not in coherence, in other words, through your chakras all lined up and balanced, you'll not get the message you're supposed to get. You won't go the way you're supposed to go, because right over here, your mind might say, your analytical mind might say, over here, there's $1 million, but your brain says, hey, over here, this guy's hurt. They need your help right now. Well, that's going to make you want to think it. But if your heart says go over there, your brain's saying go over there, you should go over there. I don't care how much money is over here, because stuff doesn't matter anymore. It's what you are as a person, where your consciousness lies, and how much you can elevate that and get ascension going. And it's going to happen for us all. We just have to do our best to make it the best it can be.
How about so-called coincidences?
Really
or
good.
whatever,
Well, Ron, why
like,
don't you give Scott a chance to answer your question?
But I
You
just
keep
want-
asking the same question that you could add 2 hours to. Go
Oh,
ahead. I'm
well,
sorry.
well, because I'm trying to get more specific. And then, but have you like for instance, have you been like just showed up someplace and whatever, and you don't know why you got there, and then somebody was talking about Sasquatch or something, and then you were, it seemed like you were there just for
Sure.
for that circumstance.
Yeah, things like that happen.
Yeah.
They happen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And is it coincidence, or supposed to just put that off as a coincidence? But I think I've had somebody in my life all along, maybe some things that I don't see, but I think I've been guided. I should have died a million times, and here I am still living in my 80s. And I've been on the edge of a lot of stuff. And between those boulders is one of those times, Scott. And then I've flown to Alaska on a plane through the canyons. Been into South America. Ran across a 19-foot restrictor over in Nepal once. And it just, what's life's all about experiences and responding to them. And yeah, I've had a guide, I think, and I totally believe that.
Awesome. Well, how about you, Scott?
Yes, I feel drawn, and I think I feel that many people have felt drawn to certain things in their lives. I mean, everybody knows I'm not a Bigfoot guy, but I was somehow drawn into it. I was somehow drawn into the study of it. Okay. And often I feel like when I get up in front of a big crowd, hundreds of people, I often feel that there's something that connects us all together.
Mm.
To me, there's some reason that there's 500, 1,000 people in this auditorium, that somebody has to hear something from somebody else that's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I believe that everything is synchronous. Everything is synchronicity. And everything that's happened in my life because of this phenomena has only corroborated that for me.
That's why we're here today, I think, just to
Exactly. I agree.
Maybe touch one or two people out there, because really I'm just saying what's happened to me and what I believe. People can take it or leave it. I really don't care, other than I hope I've affected.
Oh, you got 100 people in the chat there. I'll make you got 100 comments so far, so I think you're touching a lot of people.
Or one way or the other.
No, it's all been pretty positive.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a pretty positive group, and people are very open-minded. So we appreciate you two coming on.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Having us.
Yeah. And it's nice to meet you, Scott. I've bunked with Ron before, and we've played guitars and sang and done all that kind of stuff and hung out. But first time meeting you, and I really enjoy you, and thanks for showing up, my friend.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys take care. Thanks for having me, and Scott. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even do the introduction that I normally do, the phony little baloney introduction.
Oh, you got everybody else's last name. You don't have mine on there.
Yeah.
We
But anyway,
we got a great introduction. 20 minutes of fumbling around with the iPad trying to get on.
Anyway,
Oh,
I'll do the big closing thing that we always do now. And once again,
Right.
Thank you guys for coming.
Okay.
Thank you
guys
very much. We appreciate you.
Take care.
So
I'll see
on
you in a
behalf
couple weeks, Scott.
of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, this has been the Pork and Bean Show. Thank you to Ron Morehead, Scott Nelson, good friends of the show now, and thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time. Thanks,
like
boys.
and subscribe. Well, this is not YouTube, so you don't have to subscribe to Facebook. You could share. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you more, Scott, and share some stuff with you sometime. Maybe we can do that.
Sure, man. Anytime. You have my phone number, don't you?
I don't think so. Why do you put it in, why do you put it in my,
It to you.
in my messenger, and I'll give you a call.
I have your phone number either, but I'll email it to you.
Yeah, and I'll give you mine.
All right,
Okay.
bud.
All right, man. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.